When it comes to the question of what am I doing here? Why am I here? What is my purpose? I wanted to throw out an idea, possibly something to play with, maybe a core context from which to view things and see if it seems to resonate at all. But I find it very interesting. So go along with me on this. Imagine that you dream a dream every night, and in any given dream, you can dream a life of 75 years. Now, imagine that when you first start dreaming these dreams, you take complete control over it, almost like a lucid dream, and you say, okay, I'm going to have all of the great pleasures of the world and have all of the passionate and wonderful, pleasurable things happen to me in this dream of 75-year life. And it's going to be just exquisite and easy and enjoyable and phenomenal. And so you do that for maybe 1,000 times, maybe more, maybe less, but at some point, purely living in that ecstasy, that enjoyment of only all of the best things happening and only having all of the most wonderful experiences, can grow a little tedious. You can get a little bored, we'll say. And so what if in your boredom you said, well, I've been dictating all of the wonderful things that have been happening in these dreams, so instead I'm going to leave some up to chance. Maybe I'm going to start myself off in a really great situation, but then at some point I'm going to kind of let go and let whatever happens happen. And in that type of a dream, some drama starts to creep in, right? Some less enjoyable things happen. Maybe some heartache, some pain, some grief, some terror, some suspense. These types of things start to creep into these dreams. And when you awake, you think, whoa, well, that definitely wasn't boring. That was actually quite interesting. Sort of gives me a little bit of a hair on the back of my neck standing up in a good way, in an exciting way. And it re-energizes you, and you get really interested in going to sleep and having these dreams of 75 years of existence in a world. And so as time goes on, you continue to sort of play this game of, I know I'm going to go dream, but when I'm in the dream, I'm not going to have the knowledge that it is a dream. I'm not going to know what's going to happen. And that's going to become more and more exciting. There's going to be a thrill that's going to multiply in however many times you continue to do this. And there's so many different ways in which you can cause drama or cause excitement or cause enjoyment and pain and suffering and all of these different experiences to have. And so as time goes on, you dream these dreams and you take further and further out leaps with what it is that you're willing to experience. And then at some point, you end up dreaming the dream of the life that you're living right now. You're dreaming the dream of this existence that you're experiencing at this very moment. And future dreams will have possibly further and further out gambles that you take with what it is that you're willing to experience, knowing in the end that it's a dream and that you'll awake from it. And sometimes it'll be a close call, right? Sometimes it'll be exciting for the same reason that we go to see a scary movie or a thriller, right? An action movie. Or the same reason that we love dramas or comedies, any of these things. And you're playing out all of these things within this dream that you're having that you call your life. And so imagine that that's actually what you're experiencing at this moment. And that someday you will think what is happening is you're going to the long sleep. But on the other end of that, the greater you, the singular you, it wakes and finds itself sort of reveling in the reminiscence of the dream that you just had, which to everyone else appears as though the life that you just finished living. Now here's another place that you can go with that. Now if you think that there's this one realm from which you briefly pop out and pop into this life, this dream that you're having now, when you flow back in to that singular existence, you can think of that almost as if right now you are a drop of water or a raindrop or something like that. And when you re-emerge, when you awaken from the dream, it's as though the raindrop that is you is falling into the ocean. Right? There was a raindrop there. It still has the potential to become a raindrop again, but for the time being, it's absorbed itself into something broader, like the ocean. And if you think from the perspective of, from that singular point of consciousness, how it might get to explore, might get to know what it can create. The way to do that is to be able to look back on itself, to create a world, to fabricate an existence, a whole story, create a place and a time from which to act out a drama. A great drama that's not going to be pre-written. It's going to happen in real time. It's going to set it in motion and let it go and be open to all sorts of wild experiences. And that singular point of consciousness then is going to experience itself by popping a raindrop out, popping out a drop of water, and saying, look back at me with all of your senses, with your eyes, with your touch, with your smell, with your movement. All of these senses are going to allow you to experience essentially yourself in the many different manifestations in which it can take, you can take. And then one last thing that I'll maybe put out a video on expanding a lot more into. One thing, probably definitely the most important thing that singular consciousness must create in order to make any of the experiential dream a reality is space. Not outer space, not deep space, not the vacuum of space, but just literally the space between your two hands, the space between yourself and the wall, or yourself and the ceiling right now, or yourself and anything else. And it's the same with everything else. The trees, a house, a building, a car. None of these things could be popped into existence. You think of that drop of water extracted from the ocean. There is now space between that drop of water and the ocean. That's how you know it's something apart, even though it comes from and returns to and is essentially the same as the ocean. It has an apartness about it. It has a period of time of separation that's going to allow it to experience something new, something different. But the space is the critical component in all of this. The space has to be created in order for anything to exist. And I think that there's a lot more to space than we contemplate. Space isn't just nothingness. Space is a separating force that allows things to take shape in and of themselves. Without space, everything would just be a singular point. There would be no edges because there would be nothing on the other side of that edge. There'd be no front or back. Additionally, whatever empty space is allows for a lot of things. It allows for radio waves to pass through. Right? It allows for lightning to strike. So electrical to pass through it. It allows for smells to pass through it from something to your nose. It allows for motion, for movement, right? It allows you to move through that open space. So I think there's a connectivity within the space, what we think of as the empty space, that is actually sort of a fabric in a way. There is a conduction quality, allowing for motion to pass through it, for sight to take hold and provide sight through far, far distance. And we can talk about this, like I said, in another video, but I wanted to connect these three things: this idea of a dream being in existence, the idea of a oneness to return to, and the idea that separating from that oneness allows that oneness to experience itself. It's creating a front and a back, and a corner and an edge from which to experience. And then the space, to me, being the most important thing that is created whenever there is a creation upon us. It first has to start with space, because without the space, there are no things that can populate that space and then can help create the drama and the comedy and the thriller that you experience when you're experiencing yourself.